Dear listener, this is a trigger warning. If you would rather not be confronted with violent imagery, then here's your chance to leave. It starts with an act of cruelty. It's meant to teach the adolescent Lens Buchmann a lesson in domination, but really this is only violence posing as pedagogy. His father has grabbed him and taken him to the room of one of the servant girls. "You're doing her now, here, in front of me," says his father. These words will mark Lens for years. They will shape everything that follows. The girl does what she has to do, like a machine that knows it has no choice. And yet Lens tries. He says to his father, "I don't want to." But from now on, young Lens will understand that the only things that matter in life are strength, control, and superiority. He will understand that vulnerability is weakness and it must be eradicated. There are those who control, and there are those who must obey. Only power can prevent humiliation. This is the opening scene from a novel called Learning to Pray in the Age of Technique by the Portuguese author Gonçalo M. Tavares. What follows next are a couple of exchanges between journalist Nora O'Donnell and President Donald Trump from the episode of 60 Minutes that aired a few days ago on November 2nd.
More recently, Americans have been watching videos of ICE tackling a young mother, tear gas being used in a Chicago residential neighborhood, and the smashing of car windows. Have some of these raids gone too far?
No, I think they haven't gone far enough because we've been held back by the judges, by the liberal judges that were put in by Biden and by Obama.
As an adult, Lens Buchmann frequently reenacts his formative experience of abuse by habitually fornicating with his wife in front of a homeless man. Here, the homeless man takes the place of young Lens, and Lens takes the place of his father, and these scenes become sides of a ritualistic eradication of tenderness, intimacy, and vulnerability. At this point in the novel, Lens is a highly accomplished surgeon who eventually turns his attention to politics. Lens sees his patients not as human beings who need his help. Instead, he sees their illnesses as weaknesses that must be destroyed through control and domination. And as a politician, the city becomes his patient. Whether it's as a person, as a surgeon, or as a politician, Lens always projects his childhood trauma upon the world's many surfaces in search of a form of order so absolute that it erases all trace of vulnerability, whether it's his own or anyone else's. What I've told you so far only represents a small portion of this novel, and if you ever do open it, you'll glean as much from the first 10 pages. However, I urge you to do go ahead and read it. I haven't spoiled anything for you, and I can assure you that it's a uniquely special novel that will stay with you for many years. But the structure of the book is there from the very start, and it doesn't change. Tavares tells you the whole story over and over again, until it eventually collapses, until the weight of control gets too heavy and it becomes apparent that there are aspects of life that cannot be controlled. Lens Buchmann embodies the logic of far-right and autocratic movements. Just as Lens is formed by trauma, totalitarian movements often arise from collective trauma such as economic crisis, social instability, or perceived humiliation. These traumas turn into stories that, in the eyes of totalitarians, demonstrate the weakness of a nation and serve as proof that it has lost its strength or greatness. Defining themselves against those who are foreign or feminine or dependent, these totalitarians construct fantasies of strong nations of pure people led by one strong man. In their eyes, complex human problems become reduced to technical problems that only require simple solutions. Whether it's immigration or poverty or just genuine human difference, it's no problem to these people. The totalitarians can fix them by force and exclusion. To wrap up this monologue, let me say this, perhaps directly to you, Mr. Trump. When you eliminate empathy, violence becomes normal, whether it's against a homeless man or entire groups of a population. This logic always collapses. It promises order and it delivers ruin. It promises safety and it breeds fear. The dream of total control eats through the very institutions that sustain it until the day you stand alone in the rubble of your own authority, shouting orders to an empty room. That is Lens Buchmann's fate, and it is the fate of every politics built on domination. The age of technique cannot pray, cannot love, cannot last. It exhausts itself in its own perfectionism. The question, then, for us is not whether the collapse will come, it always does, but whether we will recognize ourselves in the ruins when it happens.